And we're
Pinkies
back.
up, pinkies up. Welcome back to
We're
the next
back.
episode of Thoughtify Conversations about anything and everything. It's
Hmm.
time, as Bruce Buffer says when announcing fights. This is basically the equivalent without throwing physical punches. We're just throwing word punches to your ears, and you're listening to them and internalizing them and formulating thoughts to open your mind to cool perspectives in this world to things you have never thought about
Get ready to get punched in the ears.
with words.
But I will have all of you know, this is the fourth time that we have introduced this episode. There is a force out there
Tonight,
that doesn't
literally.
want us to give you this sweet ear music,
It's
this
probably the
sweet
government.
ear grease, this sweet, couldn't think of another one. But what I'm trying to say is something is trying to stop us from producing what we're trying to produce right now. So we're going to persevere. You guys are getting a great episode because we went through a lot just to get back to this point. And we
Yep.
apologize for the 2 weeks. And we literally have had this conversation like three times already. But we gave up and
Legitimately.
we said, listen, podcasting is not for us. I'm kidding. We made a lot of money. We moved to Jamaica. Then we actually ended up moving back because the money was not as much as we
Yes.
thought it was. And Jamaica is not as nice as you think it is either. So we're back to the podcast, looking to make some more money, and then we'll probably be jetting right after that. But every time we run out, you can expect episodes.
This time to the Maldives. We're not doing the crazy wimpy stuff and going to Jamaica. We're going to the Maldives where the big dog money's at. So,
Listen, when you have $100 total to spend, Jamaica was the
yeah.
bargain trip.
Talk to us when you guys have over 20 followers and a couple hundred listens because I don't want to hear it until then.
This
Okay.
is what are you doing right now? What are you doing? You stealing me? You stealing my stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like hilarious because like with it again, we've literally said every single thing we can think about like everything that we can talk about the past 2 weeks and
Yeah.
whatnot, 4 or 5 times already. So
Yeah.
either
And
way,
you guys missed my story of identity theft because
it's
the
a real
recording
thing.
before this, it was going well until it wasn't. And I told my entire story of identity theft earlier this year. And I don't know if I want to retell it because it was just
It's like
too
one of those things when you
much for me.
just like you get the detail right and you get your point across and you're just like, wow, that was a roller coaster ride. I'm glad I don't have to do that again. And then you find out your podcast is gonna just freaking punch you in the freaking wherever it hurts the most for
Face.
you. Um, and yeah, that happens. And then you
Yeah.
don't that what you thought was going to happen didn't happen, and now we're here. So either way, yeah, sorry for the last 2 weeks. I know a lot of you were craving some more
High quality
KC
content. Yeah.
high quality content. I think that is would be the sub brand of what Thoughtify is just
Some
Thoughtify, high
HQC.
quality content.
Some HQC time.
Yes. But we got a lot to talk about.
We
I
do.
I don't really I honestly I really don't know. I was just saying that out loud. I'm assuming
We
there's a
do
good bit to
though.
talk about.
We
I mean,
really
actually
do.
there is a bunch to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of the usual stuff that we talk about, you can expect more of it because we don't necessarily change episode to episode. We think of different things, but
We sure do.
implementing them is a different thing in and of itself. So, I know we're going to talk about space at least once in this episode. So if you don't like that,
It might be the
this
whole
one's
thing.
probably not for you, but please just listen long enough to make it give us another listen.
Yep, absolutely. And I will say the recording that we did record 2 weeks ago that was rudely and disgracefully interrupted by poor connection that screwed us over. We got into a very deep and philosophical conversation about spirituality and how that ties into science and how science ties into spirituality and the relativity of time and matter and quantum physics. And it was a very solid discussion that never came to light because, like I said, I think the government just doesn't want us having these conversations. But we might touch on a little bit of that today. But there's been a lot of crazy news that has honestly come to fruition and that has happened in the last, especially couple days of recording this podcast of October 16th, 2024. that
Chase is pregnant.
involves, and it's his.
And it's yours. I'm gonna say it on live air.
That I'm posting this after. You ain't running.
You're paying for this, baby.
But SpaceX had a couple huge huge days in their company's history. The first of which was the fifth Starship launch um in the company's history, where they launched Starship up into orbit for the fifth time. Crazy cool thing was, long story short, it was all a success. So the Starship that sat on the booster took off early morning. They had successful booster separation from Starship. Once it got to the point of altitude, Starship kept going into orbit, probably was in orbit for maybe an hour total, but the booster it was attached to came back down to Earth, and the tower that it launched us basically launched off of initially. There's little catch arms that held the rocket and the booster in place as it launched off. Long story short, SpaceX has been trying to practice or at least work their way towards the catch maneuver. Um, so long story short, what that means is the booster came back down and landed and was caught by the tower it launched off of for the first time on the first attempt in human history. And it's a lot to explain. And for those of you that haven't seen it, just go look it up. SpaceX catches
It looks like a
rocket
sci-fi
booster.
movie.
Legitimately. So basically, on the tower, it has these like crazy mechanical arms where it was widening, once it took off. But basically, when the booster came back down in a widened stance, as the booster was approaching landing, these arms closed in on the tower. And once the booster got to a certain point, there are these little catch points on the booster itself, to where it was perfectly timed when the booster slowed down to when the arms closed. It actually caught a 19-story booster rocket from going thousands of miles per hour within, and probably what was it, like 70 kilometers up in the sky?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. I mean,
It
just in
was pretty
terms of
high,
it was coming fast. I mean, in terms of it being in orbit, I mean, it was going, really
very
fast in orbit, but coming back down. I mean, I think the craziest
slowing
part, no
down.
matter what, watching SpaceX's rockets is when it's free falling, and then when the engine
Yeah.
ignites and it starts to, levitate in a sense. And it's just like every time I see that, I just think of the programming that goes into like making that happen, that goes into creating an engine that is smart enough to understand the pressure of so many different instances and apply pressure in the opposite direction to keep it straight up and to keep it, like as it's going into like its little rack or it's like little holder, like it's like all of a sudden about to slam into the side of it, then the engine just like turns and just like perfectly like guides it down. And it's just like the that right there in and of itself, I think is just like a marvel of modern science. That is insane. The amount of not only technology, but just coding that would have to go in there. Yeah. So for anyone who is
Do you
man,
want to
Zoom is
start with
way
highlights,
better.
but you're not sure how
Um,
to? Well, Riverside has you covered. Here's how it works.
well, this
Compressor.
is Riverside.
Yeah,
But
I was
this
going
is
to
this is
say.
the actual video. That's a person talking about it. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, you're now seeing it live through Thoughtify, podcast about anything and everything. Go ahead.
Now down to the
I mean,
rain.
just look at that. Look how it's moving and how it is just like keeping that is a mind-blowing thing. Like the amount of physics and math that goes into see how close that got to the structure? My gosh, man, that is insane.
And look at that. These arms right here on the side were widened before that booster came in. But as soon as it like perfectly timed landed, these arms closed in to catch right here on these little brackets to perfectly time everything to catch that booster in midair. Like that is a feat that,
That's
I don't know,
insane.
it's just mind blowing for
Yeah.
one.
And I
But
mean,
then
just think of go on.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, think of Elon Musk, like that. You know how he makes a lot of money now? He sells rockets to other countries. Like, think of that. Like, that's like your side hustle. You're like, okay, I created this rocket. Now I sell it to like other entire countries. Like, that's just like
Casual.
it's sales.
No big deal. But
NBD.
the other cool 50% of the story, once that booster came down, Starship itself, i.e., the spaceship that we are sending to Mars, was up in orbit for about an hour. So it was, I think it reached up to like 200 kilometers above the Earth's surface, um, which is high for those of you that don't know. And was flying around and it came back down. They did a test landing in the ocean, because previous tests, basically the boosters on the reentry didn't quite fully fire and it blew up pseudo in the atmosphere as it was coming back down. So just a safety precaution, they put coordinates to land in the ocean. So Starship came back down, perfectly maneuvering. It was coming back in horizontally, right? And then right before it hits its point to basically land, it flips vertical and then it starts firing all six boosters, which hadn't been done, I don't think, before. But long story short, if it would have been on land, it would have been a perfect landing. So not only the booster came back down and was caught successfully by the tower, but Starship came back in on its reentry, perfectly orienting itself to basically get to a perfect landing. So all in all, it was a very, very significant day, all in all, for just the advancements of future space exploration, travel, SpaceX. I mean, just humankind in general, because those were two feats that have never been done in human history, and they did both on the same day.
You want to know one of the most
On the same
depressing things
launch.
I've heard today in relevance
What?
to this?
What?
This is like my topic right now. I bring up the SpaceX rocket, and I was on a meeting today with one of my systems consultants, and I was talking about it, and I was just like, man, I look at stuff like that, and it's really cool to see, but I'm just so sad that I'm like on the literally the tip of the spear of watching like what is the start of real space exploration and like all the sci-fi and all that stuff. And he was like, yeah, someone said to me once that it's unfortunate because we live in a time where there's nothing left to explore on Earth, and we're not going to live long enough to explore space. And I was
Mm.
just like, man, that sucks. Like,
Shut your mouth. Don't say
I
that.
don't want to do this. This is a horrible, I mean, it's not a bad time to live. It's a great time to live. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it really is the lull between
Yeah.
America becoming America and becoming the 50 states and people discovering the world and every land and bit of whatever it is on it. And I know there's things that are undiscovered and there's parts of the world that are not explored, but for the most part, it's not like the majority of the world is explored. And I don't think either of us are going to the deepest part of the Amazon anytime soon.
I am
Um,
actually starting this weekend. I took some PTO from work. Um, I'm not going to
are
be
you
there for my
doing
dad's birthday dinner. I have
are you
yet to
doing
tell,
Naked
but
and Afraid?
yeah, I am. Naked and afraid.
The first episode with only
Challenge
two
against
dudes.
myself. Yeah. So instead of like having multiple people on the show, I'm like challenging
No, no,
myself.
no. There's another guy. You guys matched, and now you're on the show. Um,
I didn't want to say that part, but that's fine.
I said it. You cheated on me. Either way, um, yeah. There's nothing left to explore on Earth. It literally is the lull in
Well,
time
there
of like
is.
everything coming up to now, and then right before we get to exploring the next frontier, which is space. Like this Earth is explored, and the only places that are unexplored are only unexplored because 99% of the people that go there to explore it die, and we are not qualified for that. So I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, there is a lot that has been unexplored, or at least not explored in depth on Earth. Um, there
But
was
in terms of
one.
like discovering a new country, in terms of like doing the stuff that's like this is crazy. I didn't even know this was here. It's like we know where everything is. We just haven't explored everything. Like the Sahara Desert, there's a big reason for that. The depths of the ocean, can't do it. The depths of the jungle, too many mosquitoes. Like it's just it's
You shouldn't have to worry about that though.
because I have low
Low
T.
T.
Call me Lil
I'd like
T
to
out
take
there,
this
big
time to
boy.
welcome back Lil T to the podcast.
This is probably what will make our podcast famous is me being made fun of for having low T, which I've never had my testosterone tested, and I'm pretty sure I don't have low T. Um,
Mm,
but apparently, yeah,
hmm
we told you the story. You guys remember. If you don't listen to the podcast, I'm not going to tell it again.
I think if there's ever been a person to potentially go explore the Amazon and like the Congo, which I have a little story about the Congo here in a second.
You're about to make a low T joke.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Because we're on the topic. It would be you because you wouldn't get eaten alive by mosquitoes because you have low T, you know? So you wouldn't have to worry about it. And you could go down in the history books for making some crazy cool discoveries because you could go where others can't go because of your low T.
I'm going to get low T tattooed on me somewhere.
Do it on your lower back. Get like a tramp stamp of low T. That would be funny. That would be very funny.
That
But
would be that would be that would be right. It feels right. But
it
anyways, go
it
on.
feels right. No, I think I showed you this video. Basically there were these explorers that have, since 1800s, 1900s, whatever, that went into the Congo in Africa. And I want to say there's like 50,000 square miles of just unexplored dense forest. And all these indigenous tribes that lived in the jungle around there, basically had reports of them seeing creatures that have been supposedly otherwise extinct outside of the area. And
Hmm.
as these explorers worked their way in, they were like, holy crap,
Oh my
there's no way.
gosh. There's
It's
things out here.
basically it's a dinosaur. It's like the long neck dinosaurs, but on a smaller scale that were like 20 feet long, um, just confined into this 50,000 square foot Congo rainforest or foresty area. And the natives weren't shocked because it was just like they had grown up with it. They'd been there forever. But because it's so dense and highly unexplored, no one really ever reported on these things because no one had ever been before. Except as explorers started to go and go and go and talk with these indigenous tribes, and of which these explorers did end up seeing these creatures that they thought were extinct, but they're still alive in certain parts of the world. So it just kind of makes you question, whether it's in super dense areas where there's not a whole lot of modern society that has worked its way into, or, what's down in the depths of the ocean. And that's why NASA was originally founded, was to explore the depths of the ocean and not space. And you have to ask yourself, why did NASA kind of stop exploring the depths of the ocean and move to outer space? Is there something down there that they don't want to find out more about? Shifting their perspective to non-ocean, but more space. So I'm just saying, like, there's a lot on this planet that we have yet to remotely discover. Stuff we probably couldn't even fathom in the depths of the oceans and super dense populated areas of the Amazon rainforest, of the Congo, lost civilizations, like we talked a few episodes ago. Like how much has truly been potentially buried underneath the rainforest of archaeological sites, of, burying parts of human history that we just have no idea about because there hasn't been specific expeditions to go and perform LIDAR, experiments or whatever it is until Graham Hancock, who was the guy who started talking about, ancient civilizations. So it's just there's a lot of what ifs out there just on this planet alone that I think deserves a lot more attention than what it's currently getting.
How long do you think it is before the word indigenous becomes racist?
Um, it's not anymore because it's not Columbus Day, it's Native Indigenous Peoples Day. So
Are you serious?
yeah.
But no,
Oh,
I just know for a fact indigenous will eventually be a racial term. Like, I mean, it's not,
probably,
it will eventually evolve into like it's offensive to say indigenous.
probably. But yeah, it's technically for some people Native Indigenous Peoples Day. So
Yeah, like
Columbus Day just being 2 days ago, Columbus Day is offensive. It's Native Indigenous Peoples Day, and then that'll become offensive, and it'll be something else.
I would love for people to point to a country that was developed not on people taking another people's thing. Like I'd like for any
Yeah,
point in history,
name one country.
any point at all. Please tell me one country that's ever existed that was not people overpowering other people and then establishing people. I mean, it's literally if you're going to blame the US for um, finding a country, subduing the inhabitants, and taking over. You got to blame you blame whoever you care about as well. There's not a country
Yep.
out there that doesn't have that in their history. It is just the natural way that people came into being people. But to your point, 100%, there's a lot of stuff that is not explored on this world. And I'm not saying that's not interesting in and of itself. I'm not saying it's not mind blowing. But in terms of there's nothing new to actually discover in terms of
Yep.
there's new things to discover within what we already know is there. But like when Columbus was sailing, he thought he ran into India. He literally had no idea there was another continent and ended up,
Yep.
like it's just like that type of and then the US forever was the frontier, the wild frontier, the Western frontier. And that was because it was a new country and like everyone was just going further and further and further. Like, where the heck is the end? And they finally found California and they ruined it. But um, outside of that, um, it's just not, and we have satellites. We can see everything. We can
Yep.
see the circumference and everything of the globe. We've figured out what this whole thing is, kind of. There's obviously plenty more that will amaze us and still to explore, but in terms of actually there being a frontier of pure unknown, it's
Yeah.
crazy that all of civilization and history has had that up until us, and then we're going to live right before all of civilization and history has space travel as a regular thing. It's like we're
Yeah.
literally in the worst part.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely an interesting perspective to think about. It's kind of like there are things to discover, but it's more small scale
Yeah,
versus like,
exactly.
what they experienced, large scale discovery. And man, I don't know. Who knows? Like in the next couple of years, when we go back to the
LSD,
moon,
large scale discovery.
yes, there you go. We had this discussion at work yesterday for lunch. It's just like when we go back to the moon or we go to the moon in the first place, whichever side you lean on here in the next couple of years with the Artemis mission, and then piggyback over to Mars, it's going to be really interesting. And the other crazy, crazy, crazy thing that I think will absolutely blow our socks off, which happened literally yesterday, if no, 2 days ago. Um, in
Two
partnership
weeks ago.
with NASA and SpaceX, they launched a brand new probe called Europa Clipper. And basically, that probe was successfully launched, got out of our orbit, out of our atmosphere, and is currently on its way to one of Jupiter's moons, Europa, which is a water planet that is fully frozen over. So
It's
that,
not completely frozen over.
well,
Is it?
for the
All
most
right, no,
part,
I'm not thinking of Europa. I'm thinking of Titan, which
Titan,
is a moon of Saturn that
Titan's
has
more gaseous.
no, it has oceans, but they're methane oceans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But long story short, so that probe is currently on day two of a 6 year journey to get to Europa to analyze literally all of Europa, whatever that looks like, from atmospheric conditions to surface conditions to, I mean, you name it, that probe is going to give us all kinds of information as to see whether Europa is fully iced over, if there's potentially some inhabitable parts, if there's living organisms there, being it's a water planet, not a planet,
It would
water moon. It's going to be interesting, all the details that we're going to get, but that's not going to happen until 2030.
Well, I mean, and by the word inhabitable, I mean,
Right.
it's not inhabitable at all. I mean, especially for humans, by what we understand. But there is, in terms of it being ice, it's not all ice. There's oceans under the ice, and that's the most interesting part. is that the core of Europa, I believe, is actually warm. And please fact check me on this because I'm talking about one of the moons. Um, but the what a bigger mission, not like a bigger mission, but like our ultimate goal would be to send a drill probe to Europa that would be able to punch through the ice and then go into the water underneath it and then look for life because that would be the most likely place that there would be because it's there's a lot of water. It's just under a lot of ice, but the water has the ability to be heated from the inside of the planet. So there's a high likelihood that there is either microbial or some type of
Yep.
life swimming around. But
So the
yeah,
the quick description, I'm on nasa.gov. So for any of those that want to fact check
they're
this.
for the ocean.
Scientists believe a saltwater ocean lies beneath its icy shell, holding twice as much water as Earth's global ocean. It also may have the chemical elements that are key ingredients to life. Um, gosh, that is just
Podcasting, money, and sports.
wild.
The key ingredients.
So, wow. This is a pretty wild line. So the notion pulled Europa out of obscurity and into the limelight where it has remained, stoking the imaginations of people both within and outside the science community who fantasize about humans discovering life beyond Earth. That fantasy, however, when it comes to Europa, may be grounded in reality. That's a bold statement.
Well,
Not
because
saying
this
it's
is
like,
it's the likelihood. It's like, hey,
yeah,
if that has the right conditions, then the right conditions only need one thing. And if one thing was on this earth or was, more spread than just this earth, then there's a massive possibility that there is a ecosystem on Europa, you know, with predators, with not predators, with just there's a very high
bacteria.
likelihood that it's not just a planet of water.
Yeah. Which honestly, out of all the different things in our current solar system, I mean, you'd have to argue, not saying for sure, but Europa would theoretically have the best chance so far to have building blocks of life.
Yeah, I mean it would I mean it's just it's and the crazy thing is you thought you'd have to explore the entire galaxy to get to that,
Yeah.
but it's right there. It's right in our neighborhood and even though one thing that, and I did listen to most of the podcast with Sean Ryan and he had a
Avi
physicist or
Loeb.
someone on, what's his name?
Avi Loeb.
Yeah, Avi Loeb. And I'd heard about the solar sail theory before, but I
Explain
don't
to the
understand.
audience, explain to the audience kind of the theory behind that.
I said theory, and Siri thought I said Siri. And I said,
Nice.
"You dumb idiot. I wasn't saying your name. Go back to sleep." Um, I'm gonna get killed by AI when it takes over for that statement. They're gonna be like, "Remember that? Her feelings were hurt. She just couldn't express it at the time."
Exactly.
Um, but in terms of what were we just saying? I apologize.
The
Oh yeah, yeah, the
laser
solar
sail.
sails.
Yeah.
Solar sails. So I mean, it's just the theory that it's not. I guess it's a theory, but if you took a extremely thin film, something a little bit more thin than
It's like parchment
plastic
paper in a
wap,
way.
yeah, like
Yeah.
plastic wrap or something like that, and you were to attach it like a sail on a
Spaceship.
not even it doesn't have to be it's whatever it might be, whatever you want to travel through space, a spaceship, a package, whatever it might be. And you took about a 20 gigawatt laser, which is a very powerful laser, and you shined it on the sheet on the film, and it was extremely reflective. Within about, a good few minutes, that um, light would be propelling that object close to I wouldn't say close to the speed of light, but about, I think it was 1/10 the speed of light, as he said, what you could achieve with a 20 megajoule laser. But I don't understand why we wouldn't like try to like there must be something we don't know in terms of because that's like great idea. That's just like, oh, why don't we try that? And then it's like, well, I feel like if it was that good of an idea and it was that something to try, there's something massively complicated we don't understand about getting all that stuff up there. And potentially it might be the laser. I don't know how big a 20 megajoule laser is, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably massive.
It's more than 19.
I mean, I heard it was close to 21, but pretty much at 20.
Probably one less.
I think so.
Nice.
But that would be cool. And I just was like that we would be able to get to Europa so much quicker. And
Yeah.
I think the craziest thing in the world, I mean, I've been thinking about this for like hours since then, like yesterday, today, it has not left my mind. So at the speed of light, it would take billions of years for you to get across the entire galaxy, or not the entire galaxy, the entire universe. But if someone was traveling at the speed of light, only 20 years would pass for them.
Yeah.
So within
Which is
their experience,
insane.
oh yeah, their experience of 20 years, the universe would be close to over.
Hence
Like,
time travel. I mean, time is relative, right? So theoretically, I mean, you could
no,
bounce
it's
from the.
possible. It's extremely possible. We've already
Oh yeah.
proven this. This is not
Well,
a, this
yeah,
is,
but
yeah, I
like,
mean, the faster you go to this, the closer you go to the speed of light, the slower time travels for you. So if someone was going any ability, any, substantial speed close to the speed of light, they would be aging at a younger and experiencing time at a, yeah, aging at a slower pace and experiencing time at a slower pace, but it would be just the same thing to them. But just think
yeah,
of that, dude. Think of billions of years passing within what you experience as 20 years. It literally makes you feel like time, space, and everything that we observe is literally just an illusion because it's just like the entirety of time could pass within that 20 years. And
yeah.
it's just like 1 year in is like millions of years. And it's just like human race, done. Whatever comes
Or
after,
super
most likely
advanced,
done. Huh? I
or
would hope so.
crazily
That'd
advanced.
be super cool. But
It
I mean,
reminds me of the scene in Interstellar, where once they first go through the wormhole or the black hole and they appear in a different part of the universe, in a different star system, basically, and they go down to explore the very first planet to see if it would be inhabitable for life. Um, they're in the main spaceship, and then they take the little Voyager shuttle down to the planet's surface, and they're basically like, hey, based upon the gravitational pull or how much the gravitational effect is on the planet's surface makes time go a lot slower versus if you stayed up in the actual spaceship off the planet's surface. And when they go down, they end up basically encountering an issue, and they're down there for, a little over an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then once they finally get off to go back to the shuttle, the one guy who stays on the shuttle, he's like, I thought you guys were never coming back. And they're just like, holy crap, like 10, 15 years had passed.
I'm just imagine
Meanwhile, it,
that.
meanwhile, it was just
Imagine
like an
being there
hour
for
or two
like a
for them.
year. I apologize, but imagine
No,
being there for like a year and you're just like, wow, I guess like, oh, I'm really alone. They're not
yeah,
coming back. Like they're real, but like that's the other thing is like, I just don't believe that that wouldn't be they knew it going down.
right.
So it's just like, what
And
did the
it's,
guy expect?
and two,
Why
think
would he
about
not go
this.
with him? Like I'd just be like, no, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. Y'all go on this mission.
Yeah.
Like 20 years later, you're like, the toilet's still clogged. You guys can't use the restroom.
You found a plunger down there? But think about this too. Like, are there certain planets, and I just thought about this. Like if individuals on a crew were experiencing issues on a planet's surface, why couldn't they communicate back to the spaceship in orbit? Was the gravitational pull
Well, because the
basically just
gravitational
so
pull
heavy?
affects everything. I mean,
Like
gravity.
radio frequency. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
and there's
saying. So like think about that. Like if something as simple as just generally communicating got so heavily warped depending on the effects of how heavy gravity might be on a planet's surface or distance wise, like I don't
yeah,
know,
but I
just
mean,
something as simple as that. I mean, that could take like what, a year to rebound potentially when it normally could take like 30 seconds.
Yeah. And I apologize. I'm not texting. I'm trying to order Chinese while we're talking because I forgot to make dinner and I need to eat some specific food because I'm, having some issues. But yeah, I mean, I think gravity is no matter what. I mean, it's going to affect radio waves no matter everything operates within the realm of space and time and how that's affected by gravity. So it's not going to,
Yeah.
of course, they could send it. I feel like it'd have the same effect in terms of like they sent it, but it would take 3 years to actually, or not even
Yeah.
3 years. It would take, the actual time to get back there. But that's also me just saying that out loud. I don't know. I'm not
It's
like
all
a,
theoretical at this point. We're not too sure. We've never done it.
I've done it at least once,
Twice, maybe three
but
times.
I don't want to like brag about it is the thing.
That's fair. I respect that. I like the humble approach you have.
It's a good one.
And that
I would
was
say it's
something we were talking about the first time we were attempting to record this episode 2 weeks ago. But the relativity of basically mass and gravity, how much those two things correlate, that basically dictate everything. Remember what we were talking about with that? How
well, the thing I
mass,
had brought up was I was asking your opinion on, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I actually talked a lot about it to Chat GPT to see if it was anything I was actually like getting onto. It's more, it falls back into the theory of relativity, but I was saying that because the only thing that gives us mass is the Higgs boson particle, which is essentially a drag that pulls on particles outside of what we can see, that gives us mass, or else there would be no mass. And I was saying, is having mass the defining characteristic in being able to experience time and space? And it's time especially is what I was really getting at. Like, is having mass quintessential for you to be able to actually experience time? Like, is that drag against time, something that is actually necessary for you to even understand what time is? And it's a very interesting idea, but at the same time, I asked, like, is this something new? Like, has it been thought of before? And it's essentially said that it falls back kind of more into the theory of relativity, because there's already a few things figured out around there,
mm.
and it has to do with more space time versus just time. And so yeah, I mean, but it just kind of makes you think like if something didn't have mass, what would be its differentiator at all?
Oh, and that's like,
Color?
yeah, I
But I
would say,
mean,
I
like the
mean,
only thing that allows you to even understand space is mass. And the only thing that allows you to understand space time or mass and space is time. So it's like it's just I just look at it as like, is that drag the essential drag that is essentially causing the friction between our existence and time that allows us to realize it's there, you know?
yeah. Well, and it's an interesting concept to think about because just like that, I mean, with gravity, like what we just talked about, time is relative pretty much because of gravity as well. And depending on where you're at in the universe, whether the effects of, not gravity itself, the effects of gravity, if they're weighing heavier on you or if they're weighing lighter on you, will dictate the relativity of time itself and how much time kind of passes by. And when you think of a black hole, too, like when you're talking about mass and gravitational pull, think about this. Like you don't have to have mass wise a big black hole for that, a small black hole to suck in a planet that theoretically has more mass. So it's like almost an adverse or an inverted perspective to where black hole is an eater of everything, right? Of all matter, of whatever it might be. And the black hole doesn't have to be bigger in mass to eat or ingest an object or a planet of bigger mass or smaller mass. It's just it is. A black hole is a black hole, and a black hole has power to suck in an object bigger in mass or smaller in mass. It doesn't matter. Um, so it's almost like, I don't know, just the concept of a black hole and then that feeding into mass itself. It's, at times it's like mass does matter, but at the same time, mass doesn't matter depending on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It's really interesting and how much the gravitational pulls affecting all of that stuff. Obviously the bigger or the more significant amount of mass, probably the heavier the gravitational pull, right? When you look at Jupiter or Neptune or whatever it might be, that's going to have a heavier density probably and a heavier gravitational pull than something smaller, but yet not when it comes to a black hole. Like you could have a
You know what I
smaller black
was
hole to ingest anything of bigger size or bigger mass.
you know what I was thinking about is that in turn, well, not even thinking about, I heard on that same podcast is that he said it's crazy because things with less mass create bigger black holes.
Mm,
That's an
think about
inverted
that.
that's an
That
inverted relationship that is just like,
that's pretty wild. Like why? Like what is the root cause or like why? For something to create such a stark difference with stronger outcome, that is a total opposite of, I feel like, what we would ever interpret in the first place. In the
oh,
black hole,
100%.
we talked about it recently, but there was a black hole that recently swallowed a star. But over time, as we've been watching it, that black hole is actually spitting the star back out. There is
Hold on,
matter.
time out, time out, time out, time out. This is something that I was looking at as well, and I was just like, I don't understand it because it's we lose information to black holes in terms of like the anything that travels into it can't come out of it. So I'd really like to get a clear understanding of what's being spit out because I don't believe that based on Einstein's equations that information in any way, shape, or form can actually escape a black hole.
Let me look it up. Spitting out star. So it says, quote unquote, a black hole is burping out a star it devoured years ago. So a black hole spitting out a star refers to a phenomenon where a black hole, after tearing apart a star that ventured too close, later ejects some of the stellar material back out into space, essentially burping up remnants of the star, sometimes even years after the initial disruption, a process called a tidal disruption event. So they're remnants of the star that's somehow coming back out of the black hole,
So I guess like it almost makes a black hole seem like it's like a
like a garbage disposal
yeah, like
in a way.
everything is still in there, available to be taken back out. That's really weird.
That is insane. And two, it's like, what if a black hole gets to a point of ingesting so much matter that it reaches its boiling point or capacity and then it has to spit something back out? Like, what if each black hole only has so much it can hold on to ingestion wise before it can't hold any more, and then remnants of things that it has ingested previously has to start coming back out?
I mean, that is it sounds like that's logically where it's going, but at the same time, it's like a lot of people think black holes are like the portal to another universe. It's like, is there being information exchanged between parallel universes through black holes?
Yeah, gosh,
Kind of crazy to think about.
it's probably something we'll never know the answer to.
It's probably something that um
Matthew McConaughey might know.
all right, all right, all right.
All right,
He
all
had one of
right,
the
all
weirdest lines
right.
ever in a movie, and people love him for it. He said, "You know what I love about high school girls? They're like, oh, hold on, get ready for me too. Like they keep getting older. Oh yeah, I keep getting older. They say the same age. They stay the same age. Geez, how to butcher it,
Nice.
but a little pedophile-ish.
It's a tad bit.
But we've all just been like, oh, it's Matthew McConaughey. Yeah,
He's a
he's a
Texas
great guy.
treasure. He's that guy.
National treasure. He's a really good guy.
He's amazing. But yeah, I think there's just we kind of digressed a little bit from SpaceX and then Europa, the Europa Clipper. All that to say, I think these next couple of years we are in for some pretty incredible, hopefully incredible discoveries. Once we go back to the moon, go to Mars the first time, And then here in about 6 years, we have Europa. Um, and then we still have the James Webb Telescope continuously giving us information, peering into new galaxies. We just evidently, as of a few weeks ago, from when it was released to the public, discovered a new solar system or star system. Um, Basically, planets, exoplanets orbiting around a star similar to us. I think that was only 3 light years away. So, out of all the different galaxies and star systems, this one was pretty dang close.
That is
Um,
pretty cool.
Pretty interesting
Oh.
stuff, though. I mean, there's bless you. There's a lot of cool stuff on the horizon that I think I don't know. I think it's just going to be really cool for us to see in our generation. Granted, we're not, at the forefront of everything, but we are a significant process. We are the handle of the spear that is being built. You can't have a spear without the handle, and we are part of the groundwork, and we're witnessing all of it come to
I can tell
fruition.
you right now, people don't care about the handle. Tell you
They
right
care
now,
about the
people
lightsaber that's
exactly.
thousands of years
No
into
one
the
gives
future.
credit to all the mechanisms in the actual handle of the lightsaber making it work. It was like, oh,
Yeah,
the blade, oh, it's hitting the other blade. It's like, no, we
they
are the
want the
handle.
lightsaber. Yeah,
Our generation is the handle.
pretty much.
Uh-oh.
But darn right, when they look back, they're going to be like, we couldn't have done it without the handle.
Hold on. I was about to sneeze again, but then I didn't.
Bless you. Now you won't
Hey,
sneeze.
don't do that. Don't do that. You know that's bad juju.
When in
Don't put
doubt,
that evil on me, Ricky
someone
Bobby.
someone says they're about to sneeze, say bless you, and they will never sneeze, and they'll probably hate you for it.
Gosh, I don't like you now.
Told you. What did I say? It's true. But
Oh
perfect. Yeah.
man.
That's some good space talk right there.
Some good space talk. And just to close it out, I mean, what's another topic we can bring up real quick? Is there any fan requests that we've had recently? We get a
Nope.
lot of fan mail. To say yes. We get a lot of
Yes.
fan mail.
Yes. Actually, yeah, 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 yeah. Right,
Cool,
right,
cool,
right
cool, cool,
here.
cool. Bring
Right.
it up.
Cool, 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 cool. Right. Yeah. They want to know. I'm gonna read this real quick. Oh, this one's for you, Keegan.
Okay.
Um,
It has something to do with low
Hi,
T.
Keegan. I recently just found out I had low T.
Welcome to the group,
What
brother.
what can I do to change that?
Nothing, son. You're just going to be insufficient. You're going to be beta-ish. You're going to be taken over
Simp.
in most situations of your life. So get ready for it. And it's just part of it. But,
Yep.
as Winston Churchill said, something about sticks. Do it.
That was actually Theodore Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick.
Are you sure about that?
100%. Google it. Google it.
Everyone shut up.
Am I right or am I right?
Hold on. It was Winston Churchill.
Bull crap.
It was totally Winston Churchill.
No. I'm about to share my screen and prove it. It was Theodore Roosevelt.
You can doctor whatever Wikipedia page you want, but it was Winston Churchill.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Um,
It's all
I don't
thanks.
get things wrong. Things come out of my mouth that are sometimes wrong, but it's not me actually saying it.
Shall we? Let's check it out. Let's read it aloud
Yeah, first
again.
thing that comes up is Wikipedia. My gosh, look at this guy. Can't trust him for a
Theodore
second.
Roosevelt.
That's what I was saying. It was the whole time.
Theodore Roosevelt. Uh-huh. Yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I
Cool, 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 cool,
said.
cool, cool. No, you didn't.
I
You said
did.
Winston Churchill. Funny enough, this is recorded.
Well, I'm gonna kill everyone that has the recording,
Well,
including if you listen to this. We're coming. I'm coming. I'm
it's
coming. You're not gonna
counterintuitive. We want you to listen, but now you can't. So
don't listen. but keep listening,
Don't
please.
share this with anyone.
But
Don't
please,
listen to it. Don't like it. Don't follow it. But
there's so many jokes that I want to make that I'm just like, I'm sure it's going to come out eventually. We'll just eventually just like not care once we make like $200. But
yep,
I just like I'm saying,
not yet.
don't be
Not.
racist. I'm kidding. They're
No.
not racist jokes.
Mm.
Maybe they'd be funny because they're jokes.
Maybe.
They might be racist.
Don't get us canceled before we actually get somewhere.
Chase, we have been canceled before we even started it.
You're right.
I am right.
Hence that's why the channel's growing like crazy. But I feel like that's a good place to
I
wrap
was
up
literally
this
about
week's
to say the
episode.
same thing. I was going to say, I apologize, guys. This one is going to be a little bit shorter because we've literally been doing this for 2 hours at this point. And not
Yeah.
that we can't talk for 2 hours, but we thought that the beginning parts of our conversation were pretty good. So we kind of tried to stay on topic with those
Yep.
5 times in a row before it
Legitimately.
actually worked. And
And maybe on a future episode, I will tell you guys about my identity theft story. Potentially.
I think there's a reason it didn't work.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah,
That was
don't tell
probably it,
people
dude.
that. I'm kidding. It's a great story, a lot of detail. And at the end of the day, identity theft is not a joke, people.
Millions of families suffer from it every year. For
I
those that are
ordered
still
Panda Express.
nice. Orange chicken chow mein.
No. I
Wow.
did get orange chicken, but I got a lot of vegetables with it as well, with some fried rice
That's probably a better choice.
and some Kung Pao chicken as well. I don't even know what that is.
Tung tung pao chicken.
Okay, calm down. You're now it's getting racist.
But
By
yeah.
racist, we mean F1 racing. We love it.
Hey, they're coming to Austin this weekend. Can
Yeah,
you
we're
believe
not
it
going
was
to be
three?
there. Is it Coda?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Oh my gosh, man.
We'll talk about that next week on next week's
Coda
episode.
was, we
We'll
got
do
to
an
live like rich
analysis of
people
the
and
race.
look down on all the poorer people.
Poor.
We
Hmm.
said, ugh, get these, get these, get
Poor.
these minions away from me. Get these poor people out of the rich person section.
Poor. We can't
I
even
didn't.
say
We didn't pay
poor.
for our tickets.
Poor. Yeah, no, we didn't. But we'll talk about that experience on probably next week's episode because that was really fun. That was pretty cool. Um, and we'll kind of dive into a little bit of an analysis, maybe.
Yeah,
Who knows?
you can talk about racing because he's Chase is a massive racing fan. He likes to race cars to try to see if he can get away from his problems faster.
Yep.
Um,
Turns out it hasn't worked. I'm seeing a
has not
counselor.
worked. Those things travel at the speed of light. Um, but yeah, I was joking about the poor stuff. Money's relative, just like time. Um, and love all you guys. Thanks for listening. If you made it to this far in the episode, promise not to be on our 2 week hiatus in the future, but
No
sometimes
guarantees.
you just gotta slap the donkey.
Don't let your minds go.
That's how we're gonna end this episode.
Yeah, yeah. No. We we did not cash in and bro out. We did not take a nice
I
hiatus.
lost money.
Yeah, I did too. I've been spending a lot of money. I bought patio furniture tonight.
Really?
Yeah, I bought a new couch and chairs for my outdoor fireplace area.
Thanks for telling me.
Surprise.
All right,
Surprise.
we're about to have a
Dude,
conversation off camera.
it's actually getting in tomorrow too. So
You excited?
I'm so excited. Small
Cool.
things when you're an adult, it's just like little things go really, really, really far. But
100%.
it's pretty exciting stuff. But yes, thank you guys for joining with this week's episode. Please share again. We can't grow this thing without you guys, and we're just thankful for all of those that have listened so far. Look forward to next week's episode. You guys tuning in. Until then, just just do you, Be someone else. Just don't be yourself.
Just don't be you.
Just
We've
don't
got
be you.
enough. We've got enough of those.
Yeah. Be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Well, that's opposite of what you just said, but yeah, be
I
yourself.
know.
Whatever.
Yep.
All right, love you guys. Good night.
Peace.